This week we're going to be creating a basketball game. Now I'm going to be using a basketball on a hoop, but you could totally change the game if you want. It doesn't have to be a basketball game. You could use different objects. You could totally change it around, but this is what I'm going to do. And I would like the students to make their own spin on it, to put their own creativity involved in the game. So what I'll do, and like I said, you can make it different if you want. I'm going to choose a background like here, and I'm going to choose a basketball. And I'll choose maybe this one. Then I'm going to delete the cat, and I'm going to search for a basketball right here. Okay, so now I got a basketball on a hoop. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to make a target. Now there's a few different things you could do for a target. One thing you could do is you could draw. You can go in here and you could draw something if you want to. You could draw maybe like a little circle, you know, like this if you want to do. And now you got a circle going across if you want to make it like that. Yeah, if you want a little target that's going to go across. Or what you could do is you could add something that you want instead. Instead of doing that, you know, you could pick an apple or whatever you would like to do. And, you know, if you could change the color if you want to make this, you know, green or whatever, whichever color you choose. Okay, so now I have my basketball and I have a little target. First thing we need to do is we're going to make the target do what we did it in the world's hardest games. We want this to go across, back and forth, back and forth. So first we want it to start here. So make sure you're clicked on this, and you could rename this if you want. If you click on it, you can rename it. And I could just call it target if you want. You don't have to do it, but sometimes that makes it easier. And I'm going to do one clicked. And where do I want this to go to? I go to motion, and I'm going to say go to. Where do I want this to go to? I want it to start maybe right here. 101X and 25Y. Make this 25. So now wherever I put this, when I click the flag, it goes right there to that location. Now what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a forever loop. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing that we did in the other game, the world's hardest game, where we did a glide 1 second and a glide 1 second. Now same thing. We want it to go across. We want it to go to here. That's a negative 96 y33. 96 y33. And the y will stay the same. We'll make that 33. And then maybe we'll make this. Let's just see if we make this 101. Now we want this going farther. Let's make this 200. Let's try 200. Up. And you could experiment. So now I have this going across the screen, and you could make this different. You could have it go up and down, whatever you want to do. It's your game. I'll even make this go farther. I'll make this 220 maybe. Let's try 220. Now it goes even more farther. Okay, so you can experiment however you want it to be with your game. You could have it go up and down. You just change the numbers. You know, if you wanted this to, you know, be in a different spot, you would just use like these numbers down here, negative 59, negative 42, and you just plug that in there and it will be in that loop. Okay, so now we got this going across, and now what we need to do is we need to make a basketball. Okay, we want the basketball to we want to have a basketball that is going to be involved in this game. So let's do a few things. Now we're going to click on the basketball, and let's stop this so it doesn't distract us. Let's say events when the flag's clicked. Where do you want to start the basketball? I like starting the basketball right here on the foul line, right? That's where you want to do it. 4 and then negative 99. So I say motion, go to, and you see they put it in there. X4 and Y negative 99 right there. So no matter where we start the game, we click the flag, the ball goes right there on the foul line. Next thing I want to do is I say looks, set size to 100%. So that means I like that size. Whenever we start the game, I want to have a full-size basketball. Now what we need to do is we need the basketball to go up and go towards the basket. So we're going to make an illusion. So here's how we do that. We're going to go to events, and when the space bar is clicked. Now you could change this to whichever you want to use. I like the space bar, but you could change it. And then we're going to say motion glide. And we want to glide 1 second. We want to make the ball go up towards the basket here. How about like right around here? Okay, now what's that location? 2 and then 147. So we're going to make this 2 and 147. So now notice when I click the flag, the ball goes to the foul line. When I click my space bar, it's going to take 1 second for the ball to glide up towards that basket. So it goes up towards the basket, okay? If you want to make it faster, you can make this, 0.5 seconds for half a second, or you can make it 2 seconds to make it slower. Now we need to create the illusion. Let's stop this, go back to the beginning. We need to create the illusion that the ball's getting farther away. So the way you do that in art is you make the ball look smaller and smaller and smaller. And when you do that, it makes it appear like it's going farther from you. So we'll go to Control and repeat loop 10 times. And we're going to say change size. Looks and change size by -10. Okay? So 10 would make it bigger, but -10 makes it smaller. And you have to put in a tiny weight in there because you want to have a little bit of a weight. Because if it happens all at once, it doesn't have the same effect. So what this is saying is when you click the space bar, have the ball go up and then get smaller and wait a little bit, smaller again, and wait a little bit smaller, wait again, smaller, wait again. I'm going to make this -5. Maybe I don't want it to be too small. So let's see how that looks. I click the flag. This is going across from this code, right? That's this code. It's going across in the loop. The ball went, this is the event. When I click the space bar, it glides up. And then it gets smaller and smaller, smaller, and now it's getting smaller here, right? And then the next thing we want to do is we want the ball to glide down. Glide down 1 second, and we want the ball to appear like it went all the way down like this, like it went through the hoop. Okay, so what's that going to land at? 0 and -15. Let's make this 0. 15. So let's take a look how this goes. I go up, it gets smaller and smaller, and then it glides down to there. Okay, so that gives us a little bit of a feel like the ball, like the ball went through the basket. And then what we could do is we can then say we want to set the size back to 100. Looks. Now we're going to set the size back to 100. And now we could keep playing. So let's start from the beginning. I click the space bar, it goes up, the ball goes into the basket, goes down. I click it again, it goes up, then it comes down. Now the other thing I could do is I could put the ball back over here. I could say, I could just duplicate this. You right click, duplicate, and then I could say I want it to go back to, I could say this, I want it to go back to here. Okay, so now it does, it gets back to the foul line. It goes up, goes through, goes down, then back to the foul line and big again. So far we have the basics of a game, right? We have this going across, we press our space bar, and the ball looks to go in, and it goes back to the beginning, but we're missing a few things. We want to have a scoreboard, and we also want to have a timer. Okay, so let's take a look at the timer first. I'm going to stop. For a timer, we need a variable. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to variable, make a variable, and let me do this slower so everybody sees this. You're going to go to variables over here to make the timer. Click on variables. Okay, variables down here. Make a variable, time. Okay, you call it time. So now you have a block that's going to be time. Okay, now you can see I can make these time here. So let's make a timer. When the flag is clicked, up, events. When the flag is clicked, what do you want to do? You want to set your time. You go to variables, set time, right? Set time. What do you want the time of your game to be? I'll make it a 30-second game. Set time to 30 seconds. And then here's how we do our timer. We do control, we do repeat 30 times. And what do we do for 30 times? We're going to wait 1 second. And we're going to change our time. We go to variables and we go change time by -1. Okay, so what this tells us is when you start the game, make the time say 30, and then change the time by -1 and wait 1 second. Change the time by -1 and wait 1 second. So we keep counting down. Okay, let's see this. So you see now it's stopping. And then what you want to do is you want to stop the game. So you go to control, and you're going to tell the computer, after this is all finished, you're going to stop all. So you go to control, stop all. Now don't put it in here because that will stop the game early. You want to put it out here, stop all. And let's just do an experiment. Let's just say if we did this 10 and we did this 10 times, we'll just make sure this works. You click. Now it starts at 10. It counts down by 1 second, right? Loop 10 times, count by 1. And then when it gets to here, everything should stop all. Everything stops, okay? So this here is saying after you repeat all of this in this loop here, stop everything. Now I'll make this 30 seconds to give you a little more time to the game, but it's up to you. It's your game. So now you got a timer. Now you got the ball moving. Now you got this moving. The last thing you need is you got to have a score, right? You want the game to have a score, and you want to have points to the game, and you want things to happen in the game. So let's do a score now. So now we're going to do again events when the flag's clicked. Now we're going to work on our scoreboard. And the scoreboard is a variable. Variable is something that can change, so the score is going to constantly change. So you make a variable, call it score. So now you see you got your scoreboard up here. And when you play your game, right, you're going to set your score to 0. So when you start your game at 0. And how do you want to get points? Well, you want to get points when the ball's touching the green here. So what you're going to do is you're going to say forever loop, and you're going to say if then, if touching, remember sensing? If touching, color. Now here's where it just gets a little tricky. Let me move some of this out of the way so the children can see. Okay, so here's where it gets a little tricky, and you want to make sure you do it exactly correctly. Let me actually make this smaller so everybody could see this a little better. Okay, that's better, just for the code that you could see it. If touching, okay, and what I'm going to do is I want to touch this. Okay, so if touching, now this is red, I'm going to click on the red, and I click on the little paint dropper here. Click on the red, click on the paint dropper, and I'm going to go exactly to the green. Okay. Okay, so I'll show everybody again how to do that, just in case everybody wants a second look. I click on the green, click on the paint dropper, and I click exactly on the green. Now I'm going to say when it's touching the green, what do I want to do? I'm going to go to variables, and I'm going to change the score by 1. Okay, so now let's see how the game goes. I click my flag, it goes down from 30. I click my space bar. The ball goes up. When it touches the green, it gets a lot of points. Now, the reason why it's changing by so much is because it's touching it a lot, right? It's touching it a lot. So what you could do is you could make this 0.1. If you wanted to go slower, you could make this 0.1, right? That's one thing you could do. The other thing you could do is you could put a weight block in there. Yeah, you could put a weight block in there. Now, there's a few things that you could do to make this game harder or easier. One of the things you could do is you could change the speed of this, right? You could make this instead of 1, you could make this 0.5. The other thing you could do is you could make this, it doesn't go back and forth. You can make it go up, down, left, and right. You could make it go random, and then you're waiting for it to get there, so you can make it diagonal. Just changing the time like this makes it a little tougher, right? Now I gotta worry about a time going across. You could even make this farther if you want this. Make this 299, make this 0.5. Right, so now it makes it a lot more difficult. Then when you click the flag, it's a little bit more difficult. Okay, and like I said, this is a little bit easier when you have it going across like this. If you want to make it harder, what you could do is you could also make these diagonals. So maybe make this down here, right? You could make one down here. And so now you have a little bit more of a diagonal here. So that makes it sometimes can make it a little bit harder. You got to really time it more. And like I said, this doesn't have to be a basketball game. You could make this a different type of game. So now this makes it much tougher for me when I have to have the diagonals like that. But anyway, like I said, this is just my example of how I did it. You don't have to do a basketball game. I actually would prefer if you do something else. We've had children in the past. They come up with different ideas, and I would actually prefer that. So you can come up with your own game here, your own background, and here's the basics of how to do a timer and a scoreboard.